This is Linux Inlaws, a podcast on free Libre open source software, broadcasting from the United Kingdom and Germany.
Welcome to Linux Inlaws, a season 2, episode 55. Martin, how are things on this lovely Sunday? No, summer day, rather.
Summer day.
Someday, yes, not summer day, but someday.
Someday. It's definitely
yes.
someday, a day, any day, yes. Interesting. The BBC has finally got caught out, unfortunately, by not our most favorite person. But
what does that mean? The BBC has been caught out.
They doctored some footage, right? So it's just
they did
fake news. Yeah, that's not.
What exactly did they do then?
They sliced a bunch of Trump quotes together into one to make it seem like he instigated the Capitol Hill thing, which he probably did, but it wasn't recorded as such.
So Trump isn't a real person after all.
Falsifying evidence.
I see.
Who knows? He doesn't look very real, that's for sure. Yeah. He looks pretty fake.
Okay. So, people, you heard it here first. Trump is invented by the British Broadcasting Corporation.
Indeed.
It took some time to find this out, apparently.
Well, I mean, there's a reason behind this, right? But anyway, we won't go into that. That's fine.
Martin, we will. By all means, just spill the beans.
Oh, I thought we weren't going to talk about politics, though. We promised that. We promised that we weren't going to talk about politics.
No.
Anyway, how are you?
Anyway, no. Why did the BBC find this out? In terms of what did they do?
Well, they, as I said, they made up some footage to.
In terms of what?
Well, there was a couple of quotes that made it from different parts of a speech, which they conveniently stuck together to.
Is that the reason why Britain has declared war once again on the US?
No.
So
yeah,
okay, I see. Okay,
this is all a ploy to, falsify the news and control the people as they do.
So Montana, Kansas, Kentucky, if you're listening, there's no war.
Don't listen to the BBC, yeah.
Never mind Shrewsbury, London, or Bristol, I might add. But this is not a show about politics, but rather about physics, right? Martin, what is a Higgs boson? Can you tell me?
Boson. Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yes, we can tell you what a Higgs boson is, yeah.
But
actually, should we ask our learned guest instead? That makes far more sense.
Before we go there, in a minute, Martin, what is you in layman terms? What is a Higgs boson to you?
It's quite a long story, really.
We do have the time. No worries. Go ahead.
So, once upon a time,
yes, Martin, keep talking.
There were a bunch of giant moles, and they lived in Switzerland, and they thought, let's make a great big round tunnel so we can do some experiments.
Excellent.
Anyway.
I'm tempted to go even further, because there was a Greek god by the name of Atlas, right? But without further ado, let's dive into tonight's episode. No, Martin. Bear with me. All will be revealed in about 2 minutes' time, because we do have the expert on Higgs boson on the show. And this, sorry, listeners, before you get even more confused, this is a new format of Linux Inlaws called the episodes about the unsung hero. Or heroes, rather, because it's more than one. So, without further ado, we would like to introduce probably the most first renowned expert on Higgs boson that hasn't yet received a Nobel Prize. Heather, why don't you take it away?
Well, hi, I'm Heather. I wouldn't say that I'm expert on the Higgs boson, although I did do my master's at CERN.
Yes. So why don't you tell us all about it? And much more importantly, why did the Nobel Prize Committee has neglected you all those years? For all those years, I'm tempted to say.
Well, I would say that I haven't been a physicist for about 14 years now. That's when I dropped out of the PhD program and pursued free software. But it was actually my time at CERN that I fell in love.
Good choice. Yeah.
No, but hang on. Before we go to this free software nonsense, why don't you spill the beans on what exactly you did with Atlas, the Higgs boson, CERN, and all the rest of it? Because I reckon, only about 2% of our audience are interested in free software. The rest are actually really, really into physics. As in physics geeks, yes. It's a little known secret, but that's the way it is.
Well, I mean, physics.
So max yourself out, Heather. That's what I'm trying to say here.
Yeah. Okay. Well, a long time ago, I lived out at CERN for about a year and did my master's working on Atlas, as you mentioned, and I worked on the intertile calorimeter, which is just a fancy word for it detects hadrons, which is something that's got 3 quarks in it.
For the 2 people in the audience who do not know what we're talking about, what is a Higgs boson and what are subnuclear particles?
What we do have quark is a kind of cheese.
Yes, quark, exactly. We have about 4 hours, so don't be skimpy on the details.
Well, quark was one of the best characters in Deep Space Nine, but is also a fundamental particle.
There you go, Heather. Do spill the beans, by all means. And don't assume a physics background with our audience. So start right from the beginning. About 13 billion years ago, something happened.
No, good grief.
Give or take a few.
Yeah, I guess. Let's see. Well, the universe started, and so physics is trying to, uncover all of the different forces and particles that go into that. And part of that are force carriers. So those are like bosons. So there's the Higgs boson. There's the graviton that carries gravity. There's photons that carry light. Well, EM. And the Higgs boson gives mass to things. So it was always described to me like if you had a room full of people and then a celebrity walks in and all the people start gravitating towards that person. And then by the time that celebrity comes out the other end, it has gathered a lot of mass around it. So,
like Trump. I'm tempted to say. No, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. Sorry, carry on, please.
Yeah, so a massless particle like a photon would travel through a Higgs field and then come out the other end with some mass. That's basically what a Higgs boson is. It's a field of Higgs bosons that would give mass to things. So it's pretty cool. Yeah, so I helped come up with like a calibration method in this area of the Atlas detector so that we could use the data that was coming into those cells so that we could get data faster and hopefully find the Higgs first. It was like a race with the other general purpose detector at CERN called CMS.
Okay. Atlas, actually, I do recall, is a mountain range, but also a Greek goddess as a deity. What is Atlas in the CERN context?
A large toroidal something calorimeter. A large toroidal something calorimeter. It's a very large detector, and it's got lots of layers like an onion. And the innermost layer detects at the highest resolution, and the outermost layer detects.
And how many tera electron volts did that consume? Just enough to turn the Switzerland black or something?
I think it uses 14 TeV, which is tera.
Not that much. Okay.
Well, I mean, for an accelerator, it is kind of a lot, but there has been more. I don't know if you remember, but a long time ago when I was in the 90s, I lived in Texas, unfortunately, and it was...
I'm sure we have some listeners from Texas,
And why is that unfortunate? Because there are no large hadron colliders around, or why?
Well, they were going to put in the superconducting super collider, which was going to be 40 TeV, which is so cool. But then,
size doesn't matter in Texas, right? It does indeed.
It does indeed.
But do carry on, please.
Yeah. So I think I really got interested in it when I lived in Texas and learned about the superconducting super collider, which never got finished, unfortunately.
Okay.
And then, I went to school. I got my bachelor's in physics and then my master's. And then I didn't want to leave Switzerland, to be honest, and come back to the US.
Can't blame you.
And my advisor and I had a hard talk, and he was like, "Look, you can't defect here. You need to go back and graduate." So I did.
He or she had a point, right? So yes, absolutely.
So I went back, I graduated, and then I started the PhD at a different physics department in Colorado, and then promptly dropped out. And
why?
Decided I didn't hate myself enough to finish the PhD, and I'd kind of fallen in love with free software and Linux and packaging, and I kind of want to pursue that. So that's what I did. Yeah.
Why hating enough? Why hating not enough to do a PhD? I mean, I did a PhD in computer science. I reckon that's probably different.
For sure.
From doing a PhD in physics. I don't know.
I worked, when I was at CERN, I worked 12 hours a day, and that was considered like a short day.
Exactly. That was a part-time job, right? Okay, fair enough.
Right. And I missed having, like leisure time and like reading books.
Okay.
Not feeling guilty about taking a hike or something.
I see.
So that combined with my increased interest in free software kind of made me have a career change there, which I don't regret. I really loved physics. I'm so glad I got that opportunity, and I have a lot of great memories. But I also like, the problem-solving skills that a physics brain brings to free software as well.
And now it probably is the time to reveal what Heather's all about before we even lose the last listener. And so, Heather, why don't you introduce yourself in a free Libre open source software context before the rest of the audience vanishes too?
Yeah, right. So as I said, I dropped out of the PhD program and started working at HP because that's Hewlett Packard. It was, in the town that I was already living in. I had learned
the evil conglomerate. I see. Okay.
Yeah. Right. As a first job,
Fair enough.
I had learned to slap some code together, in my master's.
Code together. Okay.
That's what physicists do. We slap stuff together.
May I ask in what programming language? Because Martin probably will ask that question before I do. So I'd rather squeeze it in first. So I reckon it's Fortran, C++, or maybe even Python?
Well, no. I mean, in my master's, I wrote C. It was just C.
C. Martin, do take notes. C is not bad yet.
At the time,
the rate again, you always
indeed. Like or not, exactly.
The data analysis framework that they had at CERN only could take in C at the time. Now it takes in Python as well. So I learned C just by Googling my way there and watching a lot of videos.
You're serious? Okay.
Yeah.
You didn't learn it from the ground up by writing, say, an operating system or something like that? No, okay. No. I'm just asking. That's all. No worries.
I think that's usually just the necessity.
Martin, that was an innocent question. Sorry, I had to carry on, please.
Are you sure about that now?
I knew what I needed to do, and so I just Googled my way there. I got something working. It was really frustrating at first, and then I got to where I enjoyed it because, it's a victory. It's like solving a hard math problem every day.
Like programming in C, okay?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. And then when I went to HP, I had to program in Perl, which
in Perl?
I really didn't like it.
That was after the time travel, as in back to the 70s or 80s or something.
I mean, it was like I was using HPUX.
And that you still use Perl? I mean, I know it's ancient, but I didn't know that was that ancient. Okay.
Yeah, the test framework was all in Perl. So I
HPUX, for the kids out there who do not know what
HPUX,
this is.
Yeah, it's about 20 years ago, isn't it?
Exactly. HP, don't send the lawyers. We don't have any money, so no sweat. HPUX is actually a variant of Unix done by HP about, 20 years ago, maybe 25. It was all the rage in the 90s, maybe zeros, but that's where it basically ended, more or less.
Yeah, I mean, I think they still use it, like in HP Enterprise these days for their servers.
These two remaining customers, exactly. So what happened afterwards, Heather? You bought your fair share of HP servers because they came with the employment contract. So you had huge discounts, but you sold them all on eBay because what's the point of keeping them?
Right. Warmth, in the winter, it gets cold in Colorado.
I get that point.
After I did some testing in Perl at HP, I got hired into the Linux lab that they had, and they sent me to LinuxCon in 2015. Actually, that was my first big free software conference, which I think LinuxCon is not a thing anymore, or it's been rebranded. And I wanted to get into this room where Linus Torvalds was talking because he's an icon. And
but he's over it anyway. No, maybe I'm not. I don't know.
He was an icon, right? Like he still was a major player in like what started this thing that I love. So I was kind of stuck out in the hall, like kind of I couldn't get into the room. And right behind me was like the Free Software Foundation booth. And these guys were chatting me up. And
the FSF. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you know who was there? Like Richard or some other people?
No, Richard wasn't there. But they sold me Richard's book, Free as in Freedom.
Okay.
And so I took it home and I read it. And then I read Cathedral in the Bazaar. And I was like, oh.
Eric Raymond, of course.
And I think, because I loved
Thunderbird, I see.
I loved Linux so much, but I didn't understand, like, how could I make a career working on this?
Sorry, Heather. It's called GNU Linux, as a matter of fact.
It is. You're right. Can we just, like...
But that's okay, no worries. The FSF won't crucify us, I suppose. I mean, the podcast is not called GNU Linux Inlaws for a reason, so no worries. Rich, if you're listening, that was a joke. No worries.
We already had them on anyway, so they're not coming back anytime soon. Don't worry.
Heather, sorry, do keep talking.
Yeah, no, so I think those two books really kind of helped me understand like how free software can be an industry, even if it's a small one.
Okay. So you didn't venture into reading Marx, The Capital? Because
I did not.
Okay.
It on my shelf.
You can lend or buy this. I don't know. It's available on Amazon, if my research is correct. Because at the end of the day, it's along the same philosophical lines, but we won't digress into this because otherwise post-production really will kill me because you're looking at rather 7 or 8 hours rather than the usual 4. But then I do carry on.
Yeah, I really cared about like the ideals of providing software, good quality software to people for no monetary cost. I think it's a really important thing. And I think that as technology goes on, providing the same sort of data privacy protections for free is almost like a human right to me. And so from that point on, I just looked for a job that would pay me to work on free software. And bounced around, spent a few years at Canonical working on Ubuntu.
You ventured to the dark side early. I see. Okay, fair enough.
That was my last job, actually. The one before that was Purism. I think Purism was the first one that really...
The phone makers, yes.
Yeah. The Librem 5. I was the developer documentation person on that project. I love writing documentation. I love writing technical documentation. I know that's weird, but it is what it is.
I wouldn't call that weird. I would call that kind of accurate and precise.
I'd call it rare. Yeah.
Rare.
Can we hire you?
Thank you.
I think
Martin has the point.
From like a non-traditional background, I just took a ton of notes for myself, and I wanted to write
Physics
it
background,
well enough. Yeah. So
fair enough. Yeah. Well
kind of just translated into like writing good documentation for other people too.
Admirable. Kids, hipsters do take note. Even if you're vibe coding, the AI probably gets it wrong when it comes down to proper documentation of the code. As I said, this is where human intelligence should kick in rather than kind of some AI or something.
Yeah.
So what made you join the Mozilla Foundation after all? For disclosure, we had Eric Riscola on the show quite a few years ago, but for some strange odd reason, he didn't mention you. I wonder why that is.
Well, the Mozilla Foundation is a nonprofit that oversees a couple of for-profit companies. One of them is Mozilla Corporation, which is Firefox, and the other one is MZLA, which is Thunderbird. So I work on Thunderbird.
Ah, okay. Is that the reason why I didn't mention you?
Yeah.
I'm just guessing. Okay, fair enough.
Well, I've been on Thunderbird for a little over 2 years now. So depending on when you have me on.
Okay. It sounds about that was probably before your time. That's probably the reason why I didn't mention you. Martin, we had Eric on 2 or 3 years ago, right? Give or take a few. If my math is correct.
Right. Yeah.
So Eric, you're excused. No worries. If you're listening.
Yeah, so I just kind of bounced around a little bit in free software. And I think I left Canonical because they were making a lot of changes that I didn't totally agree with. And so I felt like it was just time to move on after about 5 years of being on
I know that Mr. Shuttleworth is an avid listener, so why don't you spill the beans? You don't have to, though.
I just think it was getting a bit too authoritarian for my taste. It was a good experience. I learned a lot, and I'm on the Ubuntu Community Council. It's a very popular project. I think there's a lot of new users that start out with Linux using Ubuntu, and it is an important project for that. But I'm also not sad to have moved on and come to Thunderbird.
So, Mr. Shuttleworth, and I'm dead sure you're listening, this is how you do it in terms of frame it diplomatically. Never mind the shit that is going on behind the scenes. This is how you put it in the public. Jokes aside, so you know Popey and all the rest of the Motley crew.
I love Popey and Wimpy. They're like Statler and Waldorf. I get together with them.
This is Martin and myself, I'm afraid. No, it's a small world because they have been running a couple of podcasts. Of course, it goes without saying, the UK Ubuntu podcast, or afterwards named Ubuntu podcast, probably being the best example. They now have a show called Linux Matters, but they're still around. And
I know.
It's probably kind of the grassroots movement, or that used to be the grassroots movement, and in Canonical all those years ago. But things certainly have moved on. Mm-hmm. So why Thunderbird, if I may be so bold?
Well, I mean, I started using Thunderbird when I started working at HP. I had to use Outlook, and I was like, oh, we're not doing that.
Not happening, exactly. Yeah, I'll blame you. Okay.
Hard no.
So that was about, what, 10 years ago, 7 years ago?
That was 2011 that I started using Thunderbird.
Okay.
And then I never
14 years ago, okay, fair enough.
Yeah. So I had met Ryan, who's essentially our leader, at a conference, 7 years ago, and we had gotten along quite well. So when it was time to move on, I just reached out to him and said, "Are you growing at all? Because I'm looking to move." And so we had a call, and developer relations was kind of what I was looking for. I want to do technical documentation and help bridge the gap with community contributors. And so that's what he hired me to do. Yeah.
Interesting. While we're on the subject of Thunderbird, I appreciate the fact that you've been with that organization for just 2 years, but I'm not too sure basically how much you know about the history of Thunderbird, speaking about Netscape, Community, SeaMonkey, and all the rest of it.
Yeah, I mean, I know some, probably not all, but I know that the project was left to flail for a few years. And then Ryan came along and said, "Hey, why don't we just ask people for some funding and see what happens?" And it worked. And so then we became a viable company.
Sorry, I'm talking about the 90s now.
That
was way before your time.
Note here,
we should
people for some
yes,
funding.
I am I am really old, but it probably would help with regards to the broader context to shine some perspective on where Thunderbird originally came from. Never mind Firefox. Okay, fast rewind about 75 years. The Second World War has just ended. We're gonna again forward a couple of years. The internet had just been discovered. We are talking about the early 90s now. Some guy at CERN, who shall go under because everybody who knows who I'm talking about anyway, discovered a hypertext system called hypertext markup language, and the rest is history, I'm tempted to say. But a couple of companies, Netscape among them, discovered that this might mean money in terms of setting a browser that could navigate said internet. More precisely, the websites that were sprouting like mushrooms after a warm summer rain. We're talking about early 90s, mid 90s. Microsoft, late to the game as usual, had something called the Internet Explorer that was able to download some HTML pages and render them appropriately if you were lucky. But Mark Andreessen and some other people really hit the nail on the head with kind of writing the first really viable internet browser called Netscape Communicator. For many reasons, Mark Andreessen's and other people's plan didn't come to fruition, so they open sourced said codebase. We're talking about late 90s now, and this codebase eventually became Firefox.
Mm-hmm.
Now, if you're talking about Netscape Communicator, that component also had an email client built into it. And there is still a project called a SeaMonkey around, of course, links within show notes, that actually resembles that communicator suite in terms of it has an RC client, it has an email client, and it can browse web pages and all the rest of it. But at some stage, Netscape or its successor decided to split the code bases. And that was the precise point in time when Firefox got separated from something called Thunderbird. So Thunderbird was looking after mails at the time, and Firefox was exclusively focusing on rendering web pages and so forth. Again, you're talking about more than 20 years ago. And the rest, as I said, is history. But you actually see this in the architecture because both components still rely on something called XUL as an extendable user library, I think it's called, and something called XPCOM as in cross-platform component object model.
Mm-hmm. We call that XCOM. Yeah.
Because that is exactly what lies beneath XUL and all the rest of the components. Because XUL, at the end of the day, it's getting a little bit technical now, but it helps to understand where the whole thing comes from. It's essentially the JavaScript-based user interface that you see when you invoke Firefox and also Thunderbird. That's
right. And there's still, to this day, so much shared code between the two.
There you go, and that's precisely the historical context. As I said, it's a little bit lengthy, but it helps to explain where both projects come from.
Well, I appreciate that little history lesson because there was some stuff in there I didn't know.
Okay,
I was a child in the 90s.
No, fair enough. Fast forward, I can recall a statement from the foundation around timeframe 2012, maybe 2011, where they said we're not going to pour a significant amount of engineering resources into Thunderbird. This is known also, I think, in history books, which have yet to be published, as the hiatus of the Thunderbird code base. So what happened afterwards, and why is Thunderbird back on the stage?
Yeah, good question. I think that what happened afterwards was it was just kind of left to be taken care of by the community that still existed, and it just kind of languished a bit. And then Ryan Sipes came along and said, let's just ask for some donation money and see what happens. And then it was a shock how much people gave. It was really heartwarming to see that the community cared so much. And then with those funds, they were able to start hiring and organizing and making roadmaps and, doing things to improve the project. And then just before I joined, I think with version 128, the Thunderbird got a UI facelift, and it looks much more modern. I think that's the short. And to this day, we are completely user donation funded.
It's interesting because it would be interesting to see what exactly was put into the project, because it sounds like it now that the developer community employed by the organization is now what? About 2,000 people strong, and it's churning out 1 million lines of code every single day. I'm probably wrong on that one.
Yeah, Thunderbird is 50 people, and
That's community.
It's hard to say exactly how many community members. I mean, very active community members, you're looking at like 200.
Like core devs.
Yeah, exactly. That's right.
That's still a lot. No,
it is. I mean, but that's across like triaging, code committers, translators, like top translators. All the various areas.
Like the people who give me a hard time if I file an issue or a bug on Bugzilla? I'm joking. No, I mean, jokes aside, Bugzilla, this is the issue tracker for both Firefox and Thunderbird. It's really an amazing system because it takes you by the hand and really guides you through if you discover something odd in Thunderbird. And of course, it's just software. So bugs are to be expected. It really takes you by the hand. Never mind the stuff that is built into Thunderbird with regards to resolving issues.
Right. Yeah.
As in dev support.
That's right. We do have a handful of people that really spend a lot of time triaging and not just bugs, but also user reported issues on support.mozilla.org, which is the user support for both Firefox and Thunderbird. And the other, I think we'll have a larger influx of core devs once we have migrated to some more modern tool infrastructure. Like, I think we're sticking with Bugzilla and Fabricator as our code review tool, but we have historically been using Mercurial, which I had never heard of before coming here.
It's ancient.
It is. It is a pain to work with, in my opinion. But we're moving to Git, which I'm very excited about. And I think it'll be a lot easier to get new contributors once we are on a much more common, popular platform like Git.
Do you know the reason why the project chose Mercurial initially? Because that was prior to the surfacing of Git, but many projects have moved on to Git-based infrastructure. And I was just wondering, I mean, even almost to these days, Firefox and probably also Thunderbird. I haven't looked into Thunderbird code base recently, but both projects up to very recent were still using that version system.
Yeah. Why has it taken so long to move to Git? I don't know. For Thunderbird, we depend so much on the core code of Firefox. There's a lot of things that are in Thunderbird that are also in Firefox. Like our tabbing mechanism is the same code that Firefox uses for its
Indeed,
tabbing.
Yes.
So we needed Firefox to kind of start the move to Git, and then we follow. So I think that Firefox is mostly in Git now, but they still want to use Fabricator for pull request reviews, and Bugzilla for issue tracking. And I'm hoping that by the end of the year or early next year, we will mostly be in Git too. This has been a long time coming, and I'm glad to see it's finally happening. Yeah, it'll lower the contribution barrier for sure.
Interesting. So you get more hipsters on board. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah, that's right. I think we could do a lot of campaigns to try and get people to help us out in areas where we, need common maintenance or bug fixes even. Our code base, it still doesn't address the fact that the code base is very complex, especially with XPCOM, as you mentioned. It's this like translation layer to allow various languages to plug in and use the same interfaces. I definitely have a healthy appreciation for the complexity of the code base now, because I did spend a few months working on the backend team to just kind of try and help write some Rust code to implement Exchange support. That's kind of one of our big things right now.
Touching upon Martin's favorite language, because
how was that for you? Yeah.
Because it's a little known fact that actually beneath the covers, Martin is actually an avid Rust fan. He just doesn't want to reveal this in the public. So why don't you shed more light on Rust adoption in the Thunderbird code base? Because there was actually an episode on, I think, on a podcast where a French core dev, I can't remember the name, but links, of course, will in the show notes, talked about protocol adoption in the Thunderbird code base about a year, maybe 2 years ago. And I found this very interesting because slowly, apparently, that technology is finding its way into Thunderbird, and to a lesser extent, I'm tempted to add, into Firefox, as in the code base of these two products.
Yeah, I think the person you might be talking about would be Brendan Abolivier, and he has been the leader of the Exchange project and also the Rust adoption. So this is the first time that we have needed to add a protocol in Thunderbird in like 20 years. So we had some freedom on what language we chose. When I joined, there was some active proof of concepts going on, and they ended up settling with Rust. And then they needed some help, and I said, "Well, I can learn and help." So that's what I did. I found Rust to be a double-edged sword. I like it. I like the whole memory management model, but it is a pain because I want to be able to pass objects around nice and easily, which is not what you do in Rust. But I learned a lot, not just about Rust itself, but also about the code base structure of Thunderbird and Firefox and XPCOM and interfaces. So I wasn't writing just Rust, and even Exchange is not written in pure Rust. It is a combination of Rust and C++. And some interface in between. That's the stuff.
So you actually contributed to the code base. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yeah.
So how did you tackle the crossing between an unsafe language like C or C++? Unsafe language like C or C++, and because much of the code base actually both in Firefox and Thunderbird is also written in C++, and Rust, because Rust is normally considered to be a memory-safe language. So you introduced some crates, i.e. some SDKs that would allow these two different kind of parts of the code base to talk to each other. How did you kind of cover this in terms of how did you solve this interfacing thing?
This is the XPCOM interface layer. So you define an interface in C++, but it's written in such a way that XPCOM is expected. And the XPCOM syntax and everything is all well documented on the Mozilla Wiki. And then on the C++ side, you have to write the code that will handle, whatever gets passed through XPCOM. And then on the Rust side, you have to write whatever is being handled. So the Rust code is what interfaces with the Exchange API. So using their specific calls, and then it would get passed to the C++ language through the XPCOM interface, and then make the server call, and then get passed back. And so it was a combination of Rust and C++. I didn't really know C++. I knew C, but not super well. It had been years since I'd written in it. And so, yeah, it was interesting. It was humbling. If I could say one word, it's definitely a humbling code base. To find interfaces that are already defined that you want to use. If you want to redefine them, then you have to find every place where it's implemented and update it there. And then sometimes it goes nowhere. And I think this is just some of the technical debt that you get with a really ancient code base. And we're trying to address that, as we go. And I think that, implementing Exchange in Rust from scratch was a huge undertaking. Everything you want to do in an email client, like create a new folder or rename a folder or move a message, like each one of those things is a feature that is 80% documented in Exchange API. Some of it is just left up to interpretation, which is really frustrating. But that's just how it is. But that has really laid the groundwork for us to move on to the next protocol, which we are starting on, which is JMAP.
Mm. Ah. So you're just using Rust until now for Exchange protocol support, because Rust support has been there since Supernova, right? Especially when it comes down to XP comp support. No, maybe I'm wrong, but
you're right. You're absolutely right.
For some reason, I would tie Rust to Supernova, and of course Nebula afterwards, which are it's probably fair to say, the main releases of recent years in terms of for the last 5 years or something like that, since Thunderbird came out of its hiatus. Is that a fair?
Yeah, I would say that's a fair assessment. That's about when Rust started being used. I mean, Rust has been supported in the Firefox code base for years. It's just that we're starting to leverage it and use it. Yeah, and going forward, I mean, it's exciting. And the most recent ESR extended support release is Eclipse, and has even more Rust implementation in it.
Changing tack just a little bit, I can recall some recent announcement that actually Thunderbird now has Android support. In terms of there's a, it's fair to assume that it's a fork of K9, or is it completely different copies? Sorry, K9 of course being a very popular email client for the Android operating system or mobile phones.
Yeah, good question. I mean, it is not a fork. It is K9. So we are maintaining. Okay, let me take a step back. So Thunderbird hired the core devs for K9 and said, we would like to turn this into Thunderbird for Android. They said, cool. So that's what, they worked towards making a bit more feature complete with Thunderbird Desktop. Not totally feature complete. We're not there yet, but we're still working on it. So we came out with Thunderbird for Android a year ago. It was October of last year. And it is the same code as K9, but with a different theme. Okay. We're maintaining those because some people in the K9 community didn't want to, adopt this new branding, this new theme. And that's okay. And so we're maintaining both of them in parallel. But it is the same code. Now, it was really nice that there was already an open source email client for Android, K9, that we could, partner with to make our Thunderbird for Android. For iOS, there is no such thing. So we are starting from scratch and to write a Thunderbird for iOS client, and that is super exciting.
In what language? Swift?
Yes.
Native Swift, okay.
Mm-hmm.
Wow, that's a major effort. I mean, you could have taken. iOS does allow non-Swift code bases if you know how to do it. So I'm just wondering, wouldn't it have been easier? I mean, the way I remember the K9 code base, it's also it splits between a platform-dependent part and a platform-independent part. but maybe I'm wrong because it's been a while since I looked at it. So the point that I'm trying to make here is basically you would have simply taken a very close look at the K9 code base and see and assess of what needs to be changed in terms of if you want to port K9 with a different theme, also known as Thunderbird for Android, to iOS.
I mean, we could have done like a shared code base there. But if you look at, say, for example, there are other email apps that chose to go that route and they suffer with performance. I'm a Proton user myself, but I prefer to use Proton in the browser on my phone instead of their app because I find it's kind of slow and laggy because of that choice. Mm. So that was explicitly what we wanted to avoid. Okay. That's hopefully we will have some sort of alpha version for light testing by the end of the year or early next year.
Yeah, it's an interesting kind of scenario, of course, that there are obviously many different email clients already available. I understand that there is some sort of drive towards making it more encrypted on Thunderbird. Is that the main goal for kind of pushing that in that direction?
Do you mean for the mobile platforms?
Yes. Yeah. Well, do enlighten me if it's also for the other parts, but yeah.
So I don't want to misspeak. So I'm less familiar exactly with the development happening on the mobile platforms because I spent a lot of time on the back-end team of the desktop client. And I can tell you that one of the things we want to work on in this next year that we have on our roadmap is improving the encryption story. Ultimately, we want to make encryption easier to use for average people. That's a really big, hard thing to do. And that's something that our security specialists are going to be working on, trying to standardize some methods. And I think there might even be some talks submitted about that from us to FOSDEM this year.
As in 2026, presumably. Yeah, the FOSDEM, right.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
Okay, great.
And sorry, just to chime in here, and with security, you mean the OpenPGP integration?
Yes, absolutely. I mean,
okay. Mm-hmm. For the people in the audience who do not know what we're talking about, OpenPGP is a key management infrastructure, and there has been a previous episode on this project. Check out the show notes, and it's probably fair to say that this is one of the leading PKI infrastructures on the planet when it comes down to open source adoption. So it's quite natural, basically, that at some stage Thunderbird decided to integrate this as part of the overall code base, never mind the product as such. And it's probably fair to say that I think you adopted this in 1.15 or something like that. It has been a tremendous uptake with regards to streamlining mail signing, never mind encryption as such, because doing this is straightforward. We simply get a key, and then you put this into the OpenPGP component, and then you're ready to go with regards to signing, encrypting, or both your outgoing and incoming mails.
Yes, that's right. But I think that not everybody finds it to be as straightforward, like the concept and how to do it and what happens if your key expires and what if you have multiple keys. I think with some careful thought and public collaboration, we can come up with a more streamlined way to provide this to our users.
Yeah, the old PGP stuff. I forgot we did an episode on it, actually. That must be quite a few years ago.
We did.
Yeah, but yes, that's probably like 10 years ago, right? Anyway, jokes aside. What about the whole pro story?
Yeah, I'm excited to talk about that too.
Okay,
so
cool.
So I said that Thunderbird is completely user donation funded, and that is true. That is also a little scary because what happens if people all of a sudden don't have money to donate? We want to diversify our income by providing pro services, not just for the income piece, but also there have been some things our users have asked for years that we are listening to. So one of those is
the uninitiated. What are pro services?
Yeah. So Thunderbird Pro is something that we are about to launch, and it's going to be a paid monthly service that contains 3 services. The main one in my mind is Thunder Mail. So it's our own email service. The second one is Appointment, which is a scheduling application, web application like Calendly. And the third is Thunderbird Send, which is reviving Firefox Send. It's an end-to-end encrypted way to send a large file to someone else. So you upload a file to the server, it generates a link that only that other person or whoever clicks it can download the file, and nobody can see, what is in that traffic stream. I think Firefox Send had some issues with it being abused, but it was also a free thing that anybody could do. This will be part of our paid package that I don't think will be super expensive. It'll be, I want to say like $7 or $8 a month, something like that. Yeah, it's exciting to be able to finally offer this. Right now, there's a wait list for people that are interested in joining once it's available for purchase. But that's something that we're looking at rolling out at least to other Mozilla employees for free in the next couple of weeks, really as kind of a test bed before we ask people to start signing up to pay.
So I would have to join before I could avail of this free of charge. I see. Why don't you send some links for current openings to feedback a little Inlaws for you, so we could take a look at it? No, I'm joking. Sorry.
The code bases for these are all open source anyway, right? So
That's right. They will continue to be open source as well.
Yes, because I can recall Thunderbird asking me if I really want to send that 2 terabyte file, or if I actually want to upload this to a server and then just send a link. But again, we're talking a couple of years back. That probably was some extended support release as an ESR. Maybe that functionality has been taken out ever since. I do not know.
It sounds like what you're describing is Thunderbird Send. And I know that a couple of years ago when I got hired, it was in the very early stages. And so it's possible. I never tried to send like a large link before to just be prompted for it. But yeah, that's essentially what it's going to be. Generate a link instead of trying to...
Yeah, I mean, full disclosure, Martin is looking after some Amish adult entertainment websites, and sometimes I'm tempted to send him a couple of videos. And they would clock in that range. I mean, we're looking at about 5 or 6 hours of really pure gold when it comes down to the naughty side of the Amish. So this is basically how I came across it in the first place. Anyway, Martin, over to you.
Yeah, go back to Pro. So, I mean, I guess the main question is, who do you think this is aimed at? Because, so on the one side, there are people do obviously self-hosting, right? They use things like Nextcloud and what have you, and for calendar and file support and all the kind of things, and have their own email service. And then on the other side are the more, home users and corporate users that will use a proprietary version of these things, like your Googles, your G Drive, and and mail, etc. Who do you think will be the people that will use this alternative? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, good question. I think it's going to be mostly, those at home and maybe corporate users. People that don't want to be on Google but don't want to self-host. So not...
Okay. So you think you'll be actually competing with Google for these kind of things eventually? Is that the grand vision, or is that just a sort of side effect? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, if this gets to be big enough to be on Google's radar that they care about it, then like that's a problem we want to have. People that go to Proton Mail or Fast Mail are these kinds of people that want their data privacy to be respected and not to be firmly in the Google pocket.
On that subject, then, where are you going to host these services, and clearly also the data that's associated with it?
Good question. There's an email server that is actually, it's written in Rust, called Stalwart. That's the kind of what this is all based off of. As far as like what cloud provider we're using, I'm not entirely sure yet. And even I think it could change. But I can't tell you exactly where it would be hosted.
Well, I mean, if you think about, let's say, government or local authority users, right, in Europe, they will probably want to make sure that any of that data, if they were to use this service, for example, instead of your Microsofts or your Googles, that data would be in the country that they serve. That makes sense?
Yeah,
Consider yet.
I've heard some mutterings that it is difficult to choose a location that if we hosted, say, in Germany, and then the U.S. government came and said, "Oh, you have to give us the email from this American person," like we have to kind of cover all of our bases to make sure that we can say no, or we don't want to give people's data to any government. I think is to be very clear. Like, we're all about data privacy, and
I mean, European cloud options are available, so it doesn't have to be any of the usual suspects like Google, Microsoft, or the bookshop. There are quite a few small independent shops available in Europe as well, who do not have, where the American authorities do not have jurisdiction over.
Mm-hmm.
That might actually be something that is known in the sales trade as a USP, as a unique selling point.
Oh, for sure. I would be really surprised if they were looking at a US-based hosting at all.
Okay. Wrapping this up, because these 2 hours are almost over. Is there anything with regards to a call to action where you would need community support? Because Martin thinks we have about 2 listeners. I'm tempted to say we have about 6. So you do have.
I think I saw 9 on there.
So it's 9 after all. Okay, fair enough.
Very
so you do have helping hands at the ready, Heather. So if there's anything where you should need support, now's the time to mention it. Needless to say, links will in the show notes so that people know how to reach you.
Yeah. Well, when it comes to Thunderbird, and as someone that kind of helps run the community team, I would love to see more people participate in just testing out Thunderbird beta. We moved to a monthly release cycle so that users get, much quicker bug fixes and that kind of thing. So that means that beta testers are more valuable, not just for Thunderbird for desktop, but also for Android, and then watch for iOS if you're an iOS user. So testing and giving us feedback is really super helpful. For non-Thunderbird things, there are a couple of things I want to point people to that are kind of cool. One of them is Umu, which is a Linux game launcher. It's open wine components, and I can give you some links for that. But it's basically the way games are launched on Linux in Steam, but without using Steam. It's a clever thing that my friend that runs the Nobara operating system project has kind of come up with in working with the Lutris developers on how to, make games a bit more accessible on Linux. So check out that. And then also, I have an ex-colleague that runs the Open Printing organization, Till Kempeter, and he is doing some great things in open printing land.
This is the CUPS project?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Apple, take notice. No, I'm joking. Links, of course, in the show notes. And it would be interesting to have that project actually on the show, the gaming engine, because as a matter of fact, big teaser, we will run a FLOSS game engine episode next year, as in 2026. By the time you'll be listening to this, it would be this year, because we're recording this on the 31st of December. No, we're not. Anyway, it doesn't matter. No, jokes aside, it would be interesting to have them on the show there too, because there might actually be a panel of open source game engines. So please provide the links, and we'll take it from there.
Sure, I'll be sure to let.
Great. Yes.
Thanks so much.
For those 9 listeners who are also interested in open FLOSS game engines. Okay, and probably it's now time to wrap this up with regards to boxes. So Heather, what's your pick of the week?
Oh, those were my picks of the week. The printing links.
Oh, already? Okay, fair enough. We'll take this already.
I can give you a funsy thing that's not like open source. I went and saw this movie.
What's a funsy thing?
It's fun. I don't know.
This is a modern word.
No, I don't speak hipster, so that's okay. No worries.
Us youngins,
This is more like Martin's Alley, as in down Martin's Alley. Okay, so please to carry on with the funsy thing.
Yeah, I went to the movies and I saw Begonia, and it was outstanding. So if anybody likes Yorgos Lanthimos, he's this Greek director that did Poor Things and The Lobster and kind of messed up films. This one was really fun, and I have everybody go watch Begonia.
I can recall a movie called Petulia, but that has nothing to do with it, I reckon, right? Just checking that out.
Different flower.
Fair enough. So, Martin, what's your box?
I've got quite a few anti-boxes.
Just go ahead, Martin. Max yourself out. Okay.
I'll go with the normal box. Yeah.
Yes, please.
Yeah. Anyway, so where was I? Yes. So you just confused me with the Begonia part.
I normally do, Martin.
Why don't you go
ahead anyway? Exactly. This is part of my job description. No worries.
Indeed. Why don't you go first with your box? So I can.
My box is actually personal security services. My heart. Yes, Martin.
Or like bodyguards and stuff.
Exactly, Martin. Yes, I mean, I recommend. My heart goes out.
Any particular origin?
No. Hear me out, Martin. Hear me out.
Okay.
I would recommend. I mean, my heart really goes out to the millions of people who protect other people. This is the important bit.
Millions. Okay.
Yes. Should you be in a position to avail of a personal security guard, give him a hug, or her, or it, or whatever, because he, she, it is protecting your life on a daily basis, especially when it comes down to looking after you, taking care of you. Whether this is going to be at FLOSS conferences, guarding the door, making sure that that conference room doesn't run into overcapacity. Mine is actually called Patricia. This is, of course, an alias because you're not supposed to use real names here. So Patricia, and I'm sure that she is listening to this podcast. So Patricia, as usual, my heart goes out to you, and well done, Tübix or not.
A bit of consumer advice that you may want to ask them before you hug them, because it may not end well.
It's just alias, Martin. No worries. I think there's an upcoming National Day of hug your security person or something like that. maybe I'm just confusing things, but anyway, it doesn't matter exactly. So National Day or not, just hug your security person should you have one. If you don't have one, get one now, because you never know when they come in handy.
Okay.
Martin, over to you.
Okay. No, I have a much simpler one.
Just go ahead. Back to self-help, Martin.
Since we talked about HP earlier, and I did actually also work for HP for a little bit. Anyway, that was... they make some pretty good servers. So, Heather, if you sold any of those servers, I have some of them running, and they've been running for 20 years without problems. So, good job, HP. Yeah. And they run any Linux operating system of choice as well. So
what was the earliest OS you ran on? What was the first OS you ran on them? UX?
No,
back in the 90s. Okay, no, okay, fair enough.
No, I couldn't afford them back then.
Fair enough. So it was straight Linux all the way.
Indeed.
Once you bought them, okay, fair enough. And with that, Heather, thank you much for being here. We must have you back in about 2 weeks' time to report on world domination and progress.
It's very good to see how the pro thing comes along.
Exactly. And the best of luck to the project, of course, because for disclosure, I've been using Thunderbird since its very early first release. And I'm still using it.
Being a user.
Many people have, right? Yeah.
Yes.
I'm
just one of the billions.
I wanted to just point out that we'll have a booth at FOSDEM 2026, and we'll have a booth at Scale 2026 as well. So if your listeners go to those conferences, please come find us and get a stand.
Yes, and bring some money. Very important. Never mind love and appreciation. And with that, thank you for listening. This is the Linux Inlaws.
You come for the knowledge,
but stay for the madness.
Thank you for listening.
We hope you liked this feature presentation. If so, please spread the word. If not, please let us know. Feedback at linuxinlaws.eu.